You know what I mean when I say the godfather, right? Well, get ready to hear about the godmother of cocaine. She is Griselda Blanco, was a 69-year-old mother of four, seen here in one of her many mugshots. As of yesterday, she is dead, gunned down.
In the shadows of a Miami drug world, one particular woman's reign of terror was feared by many. Her power and ruthlessness shaped a dark underbelly of organized crime in the U.S. that few dared confront, earning her the title Black Widow. This woman, Griselda Blanco, also known as the Cocaine Godmother, went from an abusive childhood on the streets of Colombia to leading member of a famous cartel in Miami, worth countless millions in her meteoric rise as a ruthless drug lord in the 1970s and 80s. In today's bite-sized true crime recap, we'll recount her extraordinary life as Miami's most notorious drug lord, who sold cocaine for Pablo Escobar's Medellín cartel while leaving a trail of carnage in her wake. We'll investigate her background to learn about the origins of her famed nicknames, her enormous fortune, and her bold ability to avoid detection while maintaining a senior position in the drug cartel. Appearances can be deceiving, and you'll be shocked when this sweet-looking little lady's ruthless and bloodthirsty actions are revealed. Stay tuned for the Cocaine Godmother, Griselda Blanco's evil legacy. Miami suffered a stunning change from quiet retirement destination to become the epicenter of U.S. cocaine trafficking in the 1970s and 1980s. The Medellín drug cartel from Colombia drove this change, transforming South Florida into a wealthy cocaine hub worth an estimated $20 billion each year. By 1980, South Florida was responsible for an estimated 70% of all cocaine entering the country. As a result, drug-related violence increased fast, tripling Miami's homicide rate. This wave of bloodshed, known as the Cocaine Cowboy Wars, was the inspiration for the 2006 film Cocaine Cowboys. This is the same era where the threat of the Black Widow, Griselda Blanco, gained prominence in the underworld. The Cocaine Godmother, Griselda Blanco, had the terrifying capacity to order murders as casually as one might order a pizza. Despite her apparently innocent features, such as a cute dimple in her chin similar to Betty Boop, she was anything but sweet and innocent. During the chaotic 1970s and 1980s, this small widow of just 5 feet tall held a position of absolute authority within the Medellín cartel. Griselda Blanco Restrepo was born on February 15, 1943 in Cartagena, Colombia, and moved to Medellín with her mother when she was 3 years old. Unfortunately, growing up in an abusive household set her on a downward spiral. She was already involved in criminal acts at the age of 11, allegedly kidnapping, attempting to ransom, and even shooting and murdering a 10-year-old child when his ransom wasn't paid. By 13, she was a prostitute and pickpocket. Blanco ran away from home at age 19 and engaged in theft in Medellín until she was 20 in order to escape the abuse she endured from her mother's boyfriend. Blanco married her first husband, Carlos Trujillo, and they had 3 kids named Dixon, Uber, and Osvaldo. Her sons had limited access to education and suffered academically. She married her second husband, Alberto Bravo, when she was 20, and it is said that he's the one who introduced her to the cocaine industry. Her youngest son, named Michael Corleone Blanc, due to her love of the Godfather films, was born during her third marriage to Daro Sepulveda. However, their relationship soured, causing Sepulveda to leave Blanco and return to Colombia in 1983. The custody dispute over Michael erupted to the point that Sepulveda kidnapped him. In reaction, Blanco arranged the assassination of her former husband in Colombia. As a result, Michael moved to the U.S. to live with his mother. Michael's life was filled with anguish and difficulties. Tragically, his father and older siblings were all killed before he reached adulthood, while his mother spent the majority of his childhood and adolescence in prison. As a result, his maternal grandmother and legal guardians raised him. Michael experienced legal issues himself in 2012 when he was placed under house arrest after being arrested on cocaine trafficking allegations. He later discussed his terrible upbringing in the documentary series Evil Lives Here and starred in the VH1 docuseries Cartel Crew in 2019, which chronicles the lives of drug lords' offspring. Blanco was driven into a world of criminality and prostitution at a young age after growing up in a chaotic household with an abusive mother. She soon became involved with the famed Medellín cartel, famous for smuggling Colombian cocaine into the United States, particularly into New York, Miami, and Southern California. Blanco grew to become a key figure in the cartel's activities, smuggling massive amounts of cocaine over borders in specially made undergarments. Blanco moved to the United States illegally in the 1970s using bogus passports and resided in Queens, New York, where her sons were born. She swiftly built a large-scale cocaine operation, but her activities drew the attention of law enforcement agencies. Federal drug conspiracy charges were filed against her and 30 of her friends in April of 1975. Blanco, however, fled to Colombia before she could be apprehended. She eventually returned to the United States, settling in Miami in the late 1980s. Miami was immersed in a period of high violence and crime in the 1980s, which coincided with Blanco's homecoming. This period, known as the Miami Drug Wars or the Cocaine Cowboy Wars, saw a high number of homicides and killings each year, primarily related to the widespread cocaine trade. The attempt to resist the influx of cocaine into Miami led to the formation of CENTAC 26, or Central Tactical Unit, a joint effort of the Miami-Dade Police Department and the Drug Enforcement Administration. Blanco was a key player in the drug-related violence that was afflicting Miami. At the time, cocaine had become a more popular and profitable drug than cannabis, and Blanco ran a multi-billion-dollar drug trafficking organization. She became well known for developing undergarments with concealed storage spaces specifically created to hide drugs. She was the chief importer to the U.S. for the Medellín cartel founded by Pablo Escobar, and Blanco's distribution network produced stunning monthly profits of $80 million. This enabled her to live a privileged existence. She owned cherished possessions such as a set of pearls originally owned by Eva Perón, Argentina's former First Lady, and a tea set previously used by Queen Elizabeth II. She threw orgies where drugs and sex were freely experienced and owned palatial penthouses in Florida. However, Blanco was forced to leave the city in 1984 as a result of the massive violence she incited and the numerous enemies she had created. It's believed that she murdered up to 250 people, some for simply looking at her the wrong way. Blanco earned the nickname the Black Widow due to her allegedly murdering directly or ordering the killings of all 3 of her husbands. It's said that Griselda had her first husband killed over a financial dispute, whereas she personally shot her second in the face. Daro Sepulveda, Griselda's third spouse and the biological father of Michael Corleone Blanco, was allegedly murdered in Medellín by assailants posing as police officials. The Drug Enforcement Administration arrested Blanco at her home on February 17, 1985, and charged her with conspiring to produce, import, and distribute cocaine. She was found guilty and given a 15-year term after the trial in federal court in New York City. The state of Florida charged Blanco with 3 counts of first-degree murder while she was in prison. One of Blanco's most dependable hitmen, George Ayala, volunteered to testify against her as part of a plea deal. Technicalities relating to a phone sex scandal involving Ayala and 2 female state attorneys' office secretaries, however, caused the prosecution to ultimately fail. It wasn't until 1998 that Blanco received a concurrent 20-year jail term after pleading guilty to 3 counts of second-degree murder. Blanco had a heart attack while imprisoned in 2002. After being released in 2004, Blanco was deported to Medellín, where she was last seen at the Bogota airport in May 2007. By this time, Blanco made an effort to separate herself from her notorious past and was said to have converted to Christianity. However, she was shot and killed on September 3, 2012 at the age of 69 by 2 assassins on motorcycles, ironically, a method she had favored for her own ordered hits. As the saying goes, when you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Cocaine Godmother Griselda Blanco's life is defined by her role as one of the most notorious and bloodthirsty crime bosses ever to hold power in the U.S. drug trade. The story of this ruthless, tiny Colombian woman has captured the public's interest, with Hollywood making movies of her life, recalling her evil legacy as the Black Widow. Her part in the cocaine cowboy wars in Miami, the height she reached in power and income in association with the Medellín cartel, and the deaths she was associated with are memories that live on of a dark era of drug trafficking in the 1970s, 80s, and early 90s.